Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Amanda Fest podcast, where our mission is simple. It's to inspire and empower you to take aligned action towards your dream life, whatever that looks like for you. I am so excited for today's episode. We have Lincoln Jesser here with us today. Lincoln is an artist, producer, DJ, and sound healer. He is driven by fostering spirituality within the music community. He is pioneering a new genre, which he calls Healing House, which blends frequency healing, ancient sound techniques, and mindfulness with uplifting contemporary dance music. His latest releases have been met with overwhelming enthusiasm, skyrocketing his fan base and generating millions of views and streams across platforms. I am so excited to dive into this conversation today, but as we've done with every episode, before we dive into this one, we're just going to take a quick moment to ground down, arrive in the here and now. This is helpful for me, helpful for Lincoln, and helpful for any of you who are going about your day and just need a moment to arrive. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, if it's safe to do so, I invite you to close down your eyes. I like to put a hand on my heart and one on my belly and just start tuning into your breath. Breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Just arriving in the here and now. Noticing what's going on in your internal world. Noticing how you're feeling in this present moment. Breathing into those sensations. And with each inhale, I want you to think about something that you're calling in, something that you want more of, you'd like to be filled up with. And I want you to imagine breathing in that intention with your inhale through the nose. And on your exhale with the mouth, imagine releasing, letting go, shedding anything that is no longer serving you. Just going to do a few breaths like this. In through the nose, out through the mouth, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Last one, make it count, in through the nose. And feel free to shake it out, make some noise, do what you gotta do to arrive in the present moment. Thank you for being here today.
Hello, welcome to me. Hi, how are you?
Welcome
Sorry,
to
I'm coming
you.
back to earth after that meditation. That was great.
Yeah, how you feeling?
I'm feeling great, feeling so grateful and blessed to be here with you. And yes, everything is beautiful. Lots of exciting things going on and pure happiness and joy on this side.
Beautiful. I'm literally so excited that you're here. Before we dive in, I typically love to give a little bit of context of how we got connected and how we wound up here. So in August, Lincoln was an artist at Deep Tropics Music Festival. I actually had one of the co-founders on the podcast a few episodes ago, Joel. And I've been talking about it a lot since I did a lot of work with Deep Tropics. But as you guys know, I did the artist interviews for Tropics, and Lincoln was one of the artists that I had the honor of interviewing. And after we had this amazing interview and conversation, I was like, oh my God, what a dream would it be to go from a 15-minute conversation to a full podcast. And I sort of pitched the idea out, and unfortunately that weekend I was so busy working, I didn't get to see him perform. And right after Nashville, I went to Chicago to help my sister move in, and I saw Lincoln was playing at a rooftop in Chicago, and I was like, perfect, I'm gonna go see Lincoln play. It was one of the best sets I think I've ever been to, and I've been to so many incredible sets, and it was just pure magic, pure bliss. Everyone was so present. No one was on their phones. People were just dancing and grooving, and it was amazing. And so we connected there. And then a few weeks later, again, I was in New York City, and Lincoln was coming through as well. And somehow after the show, I ended up connecting with his managers. We're in the green room, and it was like Lincoln, his girlfriend, his managers, the two openers, and somehow I was there. And
It's just meant to be.
and we got a yes. And so I'm so grateful, like so grateful to be in your world. I love how our paths have continued to cross over the last few weeks, and it's just been so magical.
Totally. Life's a trip like that, right?
So wild. Are you still in Boulder?
No, so I just got back into LA. I was in Boulder for TEDx, and then I was just actually in Palm Beach, West Palm Beach, Florida as well
Okay.
for the opening of Higher Order Health, which is a new wellness community space that is implementing a lot of really cutting edge healing technology that I am going to be serving as director of sound for, curating the sound and different audible healing experiences. So I'm really excited about that. And it was a beautiful time. And now I'm back home in LA.
How did TEDx go?
It was incredible. I mean, it was such an honor to get to explore sound as a healing force with the TEDx community. It was like 1,000 people in this
Wow.
beautiful auditorium in Chautauqua Auditorium in Boulder, which is just this insanely pristine nature environment, very idyllic kind of scene, and then this really cool auditorium in the back. And yeah, I was so honored to be one of the speakers for the day with a bunch of other extremely intelligent, talented, inspired people talking about any number of interesting topics. And yeah, it was just a beautiful time. It was a very resonant environment. The entire experience was a beautiful journey. So I'm still processing it. I barely even had time to come back down and integrate, but it was magical. It was very cool.
What was your talk on specifically?
It was on the fundamentals of how sound heals, how everything around us is quite literally vibration, and how sound is audible vibration we can hear. And so it engages different energy centers of the body and processing centers of the mind. And so we can use sound to get outside of ourself, so to speak, and to allow healing to activate within us through a number of different means. And I kind of wove that into my own journey as a DJ and a music producer and a mindfulness practitioner, and how that all converged into the birth of Healing House, which is really this beautiful community above all else of people that understand and appreciate sound as a healing force, and understand that it's up to us to tune the music of our lives and of our inner and outer experience to be more harmonious and more melodic. And we can really create a lot of positive change in the world through inner transformation using sound.
So, what is Healing House? When did that start? Where did that come from? What does that mean?
Healing House, it's really it's a living organism in that it's a synthesis of ancient sound healing practices, mantras. I also consider breath, pranayama, to be a sound healing practice, because the in and out, the wave of breath is probably the most fundamental healing force in meditation. And when you anchor that to sound, it becomes even more powerful and transformative. And as well as an understanding of frequency as a healing force. So, if you've heard of 432 hertz or 528 hertz, there's ways that we can tune our music so that it resonates with our body in a harmonious way. And there's a lot of emerging science coming out about the power of tuning music to specific frequencies. It can influence human gene expression. It can lower our cortisol, which is the stress hormone. It can increase oxytocin, which is the love bonding hormone. And so combining all of those with house music, high energy dance music that already had so much soul and has always been a profound healing force for people since it really got its start in underground clubs in Chicago and New York. It was always a safe space for people from all walks of life, all ages, all life experiences could come to a house club and be celebrated and feel together through the rhythm and through the vibration. And so combining those ideas into this specific style that just is the culmination of my life as a songwriter and a music producer. And I started weaving mantras like Om Mani Padme Hum and Om So Hum into house music. and was tuning it to 432 hertz, 528 hertz. And so the culmination of all of this healing intention became Healing House. And I knew that it was something I loved deeply. And when I started putting it out into the world, I was just so humbled and honored and blown away by how many people resonated with it and how it just kind of became this gravitational force that pulled this whole world of alchemists and sound healers and healers of all walks of life and people that understand that by healing ourselves, we can begin to heal the world in a number of different ways. So it's a style of music, but really it's a way of seeing the world, and it's a community of people all over the world that connect with each other through that resonance.
It's so special. If you guys haven't heard Lincoln's music, definitely check it out. We'll put some links below. But what I love the most about it is it really resonates with my own personal mission, which is really bridging the gap between the magic that you get to experience in conscious community, which is all of those things. It's the sound healing, it's the breath work, it's all of this inner work with sort of more of a mainstream audience. And I feel like music is such a wonderful gateway drug to get to bring those worlds together. I've been to a couple of your shows now, and I see the lines of people waiting to not only take a selfie with you, but everyone has something so profound to share with you about how your music has supported them through their own personal journey, through loss, through all these beautiful things. I'm curious to hear, what has the reaction been, and has it been different than what you expected?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was part of it that always really inspired me from the jump was this idea of making this type of consciousness pursuit or this consciousness exploration mainstream or hip. We all know that, culture and art really shapes the world in profound ways. And even that is something that is explored, that I explore in social media and through my music and through just talking with people. This idea that, like we're channels for divine energy, something higher than just it really is us, but it's part of this world and it mirrors it. And that's the reason why a beautiful piece of architecture or art or music, it gives you goosebumps and it connects people in a way that you can't really explain with the logical mind. It's outside of that. And that is the seed of why music and sound can be so healing, is because we've built up a world using the power of our rational mind, logic, which is it's kind of ego, which ego, gets a bad rap. It's not good or bad. Ego is just the part of ourselves that identifies with separateness in order to protect us in the physical world. And like Ram Dass says, the mind is a beautiful servant, but a terrible master. And we live in a society where we've built up structures and systems where it's all about internalizing this idea that I'm separate from you and I need to protect what's mine and keep out the bad guys. And there's the good guys and the bad guys. And the thing is, that is just sinking us deeper and deeper into quicksand. And we are perpetuating stories and taking actions, karma, that is just continuing to make the water muddier and kicking up more dirt, when really we as humans, we all want the same thing. We want peace, we want joy, we want connection, we want fulfillment, safety, health. And when we can get outside of the ego, like Wayne Dyer calls it, ego is edging God out. It's blocking the path within ourselves that allows us to become aligned with harmony with the way. So if we can bring that into the public discourse and be operating from that place instead of operating from this deep-seated programming of fear and separateness and not enoughness, if we can get back into every action that we take is driven by a feeling of I am enough, I am the perfect me that I'm supposed to be in this moment, to show up in love, to show up in compassion, things are just going to start to get better. And I believe that's how we heal as a society and as a world. And so I thought that some of this sound healing stuff was kind of too far out there, and I had kind of made peace with that. I was like,
Yeah.
As an artist, I had played the game of the more mainstream DJ world and had, very grateful for the career I had had up to Healing House. I had had a lot of, um, superficial, not in a bad way, just external success indicators and a cool career in a lot of ways, but something just didn't feel quite connected. And I got to a point where I was really like, this is me, this is what I care about, and this is what, I feel called to put into the world. And I'm going to do that with full conviction and love, with full detachment from the outcome. If it doesn't work,
Mm.
quote unquote, if other people aren't vibing with it, that's okay. I did what I felt called to do and communicated that. And, time is an illusion anyways. Who knows? Maybe there'll be someone 20 years down the road who hears that song and it sparks the idea that saves the world in its own way. And so I really made peace with that idea. And when I put that out there, I became a poster boy for my own principles that I talk about, because I put full faith into the universe to guide me and to, if I kept my heart open to receive, I had full faith that the universe was going to give that to me in the way that it was meant to. And the universe totally blew my mind and opened up this channel for, people in a much more mainstream way than I initially anticipated to connect with it. And it turns out, so many people in the music industry, in the creative industries, even in the medical industry, like basically from all over, everyone is a healer in their own way and identifies with that, whether they've acknowledged it or not. We all understand, I think, on a deep level, that our real purpose here is to alchemize darkness into light in this world and to alleviate suffering in whatever way is our unique way of doing it. I like to think of it as we each have a one of one code that we plug into this universe. And that's what we're here to uncover and discover and then to offer. And so it's, on my own path of healing, which these practices, I found them through a real necessity because I was struggling with burnout and anxiety and depression in my own life. And these practices helped me so much. And, the natural byproduct of healing yourself is the desire to share that with others, because you see how much brighter it makes your immediate world. And you're like, let's keep spreading this. And so, yeah, it's been such a blessing and such a cool experience to see all the people that have come into orbit with Healing House.
Wow. So many amazing things that I want to touch on in there. You mentioned this career that you had in music beforehand. I'm curious to know more about, when did your own personal practices come into play? You mentioned that it came from necessity, from burnout. Did you start your music career, begin your personal development journey, and then merge the two together? Have they always been there and been two separate entities? I'm curious where that crossover came into play.
I think I was always very spiritually oriented. Even as a kid, I just always loved learning about every religion, and I always felt connected to spirit, although I didn't always use the same language around it. And I don't think it's a coincidence. I always was really intuitively drawn to music. I used to run around with a stick when I was a little baby and pretend I was a conductor. And I just saw how music could transform the energy of a room and shift the vibe of people who, teachers or other kids or my parents and their friends when they had a party or whatever it was. Like, you could just see music did some kind of magical transformational thing. So I always connected them, but I didn't really have all of the tools and everything, or didn't even think about it in those ways in a conscious way. And then I was in bands in high school, like indie rock kind of garage rock bands, which was really fun. And then I moved to LA to pursue music and didn't necessarily have a total plan for what I was doing. I just had faith and had so much joy come from making music my whole life that I was like, I'm just going to go on this journey, probably a little bit of delusion in there, but, and
Necessary.
yeah. And being in LA, I found yoga and started a pretty consistent yoga practice. And somewhere in there, I also found Vipassana meditation around that same time, which it doesn't necessarily involve music. It's just sitting and becoming aware of your thoughts noting the thoughts and allowing them to pass. And that practice is Vipassana. And I found that that was something I really resonated with and was drawn to. And it kind of brought back some of the things I had picked up from growing up. You know, my parents are both healers. My dad was an emergency room doctor for 20 years, and my mom is a psychologist. And she, in particular, was really into Eastern philosophy, Buddhism, Taoism. So I kind of had that in the periphery of my life growing up. And then, you know, as I started to get more into meditation, it resonated more deeply. So I started studying that stuff 15 plus years ago. Now I've been practicing yoga and meditation in a consistent way. And then probably 6 or 7 years, I started getting invited to go to sound baths just because of the group of friends I had. And so I had some great experiences with sound baths, but it still didn't fully click. And then maybe 4 years ago, I really hit this wall. I went through a really tough relationship breakup, that the relationship was pretty toxic, and you know, kind of revealed my own bad patterns and also put me through some you know, trauma of different sorts. And I felt creatively very stagnated. I felt like I hit a wall creatively with my music. I didn't know how to really connect with people in a way that felt totally resonant on social media. And I had been a music producer and a creator since before social media. I've been putting music out since MySpace days. And
Wild.
I've always connected with people through it, and it's been awesome. But, you know, there was like this shift that happened in the last, you know, like the newest generation of social media, where it became this new thing where you really have to figure out how to reach people, and there's so much saturation. And as a DJ and an artist, that wasn't naturally what I always did. I come from that old tradition of like rock stars are mysterious and they don't really like do a lot of that, and you can just let your cool cover art speak for you. I could see that wasn't really working as well. And I've also been like, I am such a people person, and I love people and I love connecting in the real world. So that was kind of frustrating for me for a while. And you know, I kind of basically, like, that culmination of everything was I felt that I really lost connection to myself. And it, you know, caused me to be living a lifestyle and be in routines and habits that just didn't serve me. And I could see that, you know, negative trend happening. And it got to, like, honestly, a pretty dark place. And I was like, I need to figure this out. I'm not even going to moralize it as good or bad. It's just like, I need to be scientific about this and understand, how do I build myself back up and connect to who I really am. I don't remember exactly how it happened, but you know, I think I went to a sound bath, and that sparked this interest to start learning more about how maybe sound could be helpful. And another part of it was I kind of just was like, you know what? I'm not spending enough time just loving sound and loving music for the sake of it, the way I did when I was a 12, 13-year-old kid. And like,
Right.
I didn't have these attachments to how my life was supposed to be turning out, or am I doing enough, or am I successful enough, or, you know, I was just like, I'm just going to put on some Bob Marley and vibe out and really be here in the present moment and let go and enjoy myself. And that kind of opened up this whole gateway into different types of ambient and down tempo sound healing music that I noticed when I really released and allowed myself to be present with that music, it would raise my vibration and I could feel it. And that started to lead into, you know, learning about the different healing frequencies. And I was just finding stuff on YouTube, like ambient 432 hertz music.
When you were looking at all this, did you have in the back of your mind, like, oh, maybe I can do something with this? Or it was purely out of just curiosity and
I
discovery?
think at first it was just curiosity, and I was like, I make dance music. This is really different
Yeah.
from that. And, you know, like, I thought it was cool, but I wasn't thinking about it from that place of, you know, doing anything with it. It was really just, this is like healing for me.
Right.
And so I, you know, I found mantras and I found intentional tunings and breath work. I started to understand how powerful breath work was. And at some point through family friends, I was having a conversation around some of this stuff, and they were like, you should connect with my friend Jonathan, who he's been in the sound healing world actually for a long time, and he's written a bunch of books. His name's Jonathan Goldman. And I ended up looking him up, and he wrote many books, but the one that I picked up was called Healing Sounds, and it was written in the early 90s. And Jonathan has been a pioneer in the sound healing space since the 60s, late 60s and early 70s, and studied with Tibetan chant masters where the mantra traditions come from. And this book Healing Sounds really connected the dots between why sound heals and how we can use our own voice, our own vibration, humming, chanting, coupled with healing sounds, how that system actually works on a scientific level to make us happier, make us more grounded, more peaceful, and help us heal. And that book just absolutely blew my mind, and it connected a bunch of dots that I didn't have fully connected yet. And it just really inspired me on another level. And I was like, I have to reach out to this guy. So I did, and told him kind of, how interested in all of this I was. And I think at that point, the seed of combining these things had occurred to me. I may have expressed that to him.
Yeah.
And he was gracious enough to respond, and we ended up getting on a call, and he agreed to do some sessions with me as my mentor. And he, funnily enough, lives in Boulder, a longtime resident of Boulder, with his wife, Andy. And so we connected and started meeting, once or twice a week just to talk, and have become really good friends since then. But he helped open some more doors for me as far as what I should be studying and exploring. And around then, I started creating the first Healing House releases. It kind of just flowed organically from the pursuit of the knowledge.
Right.
It really opened me up because I just kept seeing more and more how it was all connected. And since I had already had so much experience with it helping me, it made it easy to apply my own experience, being a pretty experienced electronic music producer, to dial some of these things in and play with it in a way that was more precise than maybe anyone had done up until then, as far as the intentional tuning and everything like that.
I love that. So the podcast is all about inspiring people to take action towards their dreams. You guys, this is it. Reading a book and being like, I'm going to reach out to this person and
Yeah.
try and connect with them. We talk about manifestation, and yes, you have to embody and envision and all these things, but it's manifestation plus aligned action. You never know if you don't ask. Lincoln wouldn't be here if I didn't ask. It's taking those steps. And I also really love that this began with just following your curiosity as well. I think so many times we're, in the time that we're in right now, just so drilled that everything has to be for something. I need to do this so that this, and I have to do it like this so that it can make me money, and then I can make this happen. And so to just be in your moment of transformation, leaning into your curiosity, following those breadcrumbs and allowing it to unfold, watching it and witnessing it lead to this. I also resonated really deeply with, your story of transformation. I found personal development in a very similar way, where I just had this awakening of, it's not good, bad, right, wrong. It's I'm not aligned. I'm not living in alignment with my truth. And because of that, it's this ripple effect of I'm not surrounded by the right people, I'm not in the right rooms, and it just was feeling this dissonance. And so finding whatever practices bring you back into harmony to bring you back into resonance, and to get to create something of that is just even cooler. So as a musician, you were a successful musician in that you start leaning into this curiosity. You're like, all right, we're going to combine these two. Were there doubts, fears, questions in your mind in terms of, this is your livelihood? I'm sure there was no way for you to know that this was going to take off the way that it did, because you're really a first of its kind. What was that process of really stepping into that from a career standpoint for you?
I think I considered it. It definitely factored in, but I think I just didn't feel that I had that much to lose, because the music industry is honestly tough, and even artists that look like they're absolutely killing it probably aren't always bringing in as much money, or like their career isn't, it's never as stable as you think. It's always
Right.
kind of an ongoing journey. And so for me, I was like, if you're not sure if it's going to work either way, you might as well do what feels authentically aligned, because then it's sustainable and you're going to be having fun and feeling joy even when maybe you're not getting the exact external situation from it that you think you deserve or desire. Like you're having fun for the sake of it, and it's coming from an intrinsic place of joy. And that's the real reward. That's the real compensation or payoff. So I've never really operated um, like in a tactical way from that perspective. I've never really made artistic decisions, creative decisions based on what I thought was going to cause the most career growth or
Right.
material success. Because if I was doing that, I probably wouldn't be a musician in the first place.
Right.
The cool thing was, once I had the pieces internally of what I was trying to do and looking to communicate out into the world, it happened pretty fast. Like as soon as "O Mani Padme Hum" came out, which was the first Healing House song,
Mm.
um,
When was this?
I this was probably, I think this was like April of last year.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's not been. I know it's been not a long time at all. It's been such. That's what I mean. It's such a trip. I feel like I'm on the trip with everyone else.
Then
Like
I probably discovered you right when it came out because I remember I found you through the algorithms. I was in New York. Did you play We Belong Here last year in New York?
I did.
Yeah. So right around that time, I started to get ads and I saw like specific ads for your music and I was like, this is cool. Like this is so up my alley. I was like, I'm into all the sound healing, like spiritual stuff. I love house music. I was like, who is this guy? And then I started following you back then and have just been witnessing your journey. But again, you never know until you know. From my perspective, I was under the impression that this had been a thing and I was just coming onto it. But that's so cool that that was at the
Yeah.
beginning of the transition.
Yeah, it's been super quick and recent. And I was getting so many messages from people at the beginning saying, I've been waiting for someone to do this, or I had a dream about doing this. I believe that everything is connected and ideas aren't really our own. It's something that we channel through us. And I'm
Right.
not the only one who thinks that. I know Pharrell has talked about that. It's like when you get an idea, you need to act on it and receive it as a gift and treat it as such, because if it doesn't find a channel out, it's going to find another channel, and so I think it was just,
You were the vessel.
yeah, I mean, I've always felt that, and I feel that helps keep me grounded too, because I know that it's about, like, the same with happiness. Happiness is it's a lifestyle practice. It's not something that you just attain. There is no
Right.
way to happiness. Happiness is the way. And you have to continually cultivate your inner environment and outer environment to be a garden where the right plants or the right flowers can grow. And even if you grow the best flower ever, if you just start dumping a bunch of toxic waste onto the garden after that, you're not going to grow anything else good. So it's a continual practice that I try to anchor in. And I realize that, the ups and downs of my own life led me there, because I started to really release the patterns that weren't serving and stay focused on being connected to the feeling of divine energy that is flowing through all of us whenever we remember to tap back into it. I think I started rambling there a bit. I forget your
No,
question.
no, no. It's perfect. It's all perfect. I think it's just really tuning into, the message of what you're sharing, and I go to ecstatic dances all around the world, and I know this type of music exists, but I haven't seen it find success in a more mainstream way, the way that your music has. So it's really
Yeah.
exciting to see obviously your music particularly and your success, but just the fact that this is successful is exciting in
Super
general.
exciting. Yeah, it's so exciting. And yeah, I mean, I think like I was to finish my little story about the Genesis period.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I started, I posted a few clips of my own, and I posted a few pieces of content around, connecting the science of frequency healing with what I was doing. And that started to get some people started resonating, and I started to have people who are into it. Like when I released Om Mani Padme Hum, they would send me videos of themselves like dancing in nature to Om Mani Padme Hum. I never even asked for that. People just started doing it, and I thought it was so cool. So I started posting a lot of that onto my own feed. Sometimes I would add like more text to communicate what the intention of the song was or whatever. And I just was posting kind of every day. To I just made a choice to be radically present in social media, not only in my posting, but also in messages. I started getting DMs from people asking for advice about what they were going through, because they were like, I can tell from this music that, you know,
You get it.
you're yeah. They're like, they just felt comfortable sharing with me, which I was so honored by. And I really made a point, it was like, first it was a message here, a message there. And then all of a sudden it's like 10, 20, 100 messages, a couple, there's some days when I was getting like probably thousands of messages depending on what I
Wow.
was posting. And I would really do my best to answer as many as it's gotten to a point where if I did that, it would probably take the whole day, but I still try to answer as much as I can, just be it asking for advice or just wanting to connect and share what someone else is working on. Like that's really was the transformative thing for me, was realizing, you know there's just so much talent and inspiration and creative energy out there, and we got to figure out ways to build up our world to activate that in people and to encourage it, and not to teach people to hide that away, because the parts of us that are vulnerable and authentic, that's what the world needs right now more than ever. Nothing connects people better than music. And so for me, it was just this perfect match of everything. When I started doing some of these posts, there was a couple of days when I was going up 20,000 followers in a day. I think there was a couple of weeks where I went from 10,000 followers to like 200,000 followers in maybe like 3 weeks. So it was like, it really felt like a quantum shift.
Yeah.
And I just tried to not let that alter the way that I was showing up, because I realized, obviously something here is working and people are connecting with this and
Right.
feeling excited about it in the same way I am. And so that's what I've tried to continue to do, is just to expand and explore and make that world larger and more accommodating for everyone, while also staying true to the source of it, which is really rooted in wisdom that hasn't changed since the beginning of human history. It's the same stuff. It's just understanding that we are right here and nothing really exists outside of right here and right now. And most of the problems are created in our mind. And when we act from that illusion, it creates more problems. And if we can learn to just be at peace and release what we're holding on to and show up in a vibration of love and gratitude and compassion, then it's going to create a resonance that is going to mirror that back to us. And we can slowly but steadily change the entire world that way.
I'm glad that you brought up the social media part of it, because that was going to be something that I wanted to touch on. I was talking to your managers about, I think you do an incredible job of showing up authentically online. And I was like, does he have a
Thanks.
team? Like, and they're like, Lincoln does his socials. I think so many people are desiring 100,000 followers. They're really focused on the metrics. And I think a really important piece of that is why. Why do you want all those followers? What do you have to
Mm-hmm.
share? What are you saying? And also cultivating community within the digital presence. You're sharing one authentic from your heart, you're sharing authentically, you're sharing with the desire to help people, and you're sharing in a way to bring people together and to create community. In 2025, you're totally right. Like back in the day, there was all this mystery around not even just musicians. I worked in film for a while too, and the only way you saw a photo of a celebrity was from the paparazzi. It wasn't,
Mm,
artists were not as accessible as they are now. And it really is two completely separate jobs. It's your work as an artist and what you're doing out there, and then how do you communicate that and share that in a way that connects, and they feed into each other. I would say most artists and most people are not good at both, and I think that's a skill that you have, that you do a very good job of being really great in the IRL experience, and you do an incredible job because I've watched it. I went to the Chicago show. I think this is a great example. It's this,
it was
again,
a great show. It was fun.
amazing show on this rooftop, super high vibes, sunset. Like, it was such an incredible experience. Everyone was so present. And then I watched you in the weeks after use the content from that experience to storytell. And I was like, damn, this is just as good. You're pulling and extracting either from that event or using the visuals and what we capture from that event to tell a story, to educate, to teach about what were we doing? What were you doing with those sound frequencies? How did it land with people? What is the meaning? So I just want to say that that's amazing, but also, again, for others that are, because that's kind of the name of the game right now in whatever industry you're in, whatever you're building. It's the number one thing. It's build your business and build your personal brand. And if you can nail the personal brand and nail the business and nail the intersection of both, you can have exponential growth seemingly overnight in a way that just wasn't possible before social media. So that's
Totally.
cool. It's cool to see it, 1 year. Wow. Like,
Yeah,
wow.
things it's very powerful. And yeah, I think that's one of the biggest messages that I hope to communicate to others through my project is that regardless of what you do in this life, you are a creative being. That is what we are in essence. We are literally instruments of divine source, and we are here to dream a better world into being. I mean, your entire life is really, you know, you in different ways bringing what is in your inner world into the outer world. And if you can start to realize your entire life is your art, and that includes how you speak to yourself, those moments when you're alone by yourself, like that's the real art, to be honest, even more than anything else that's happening. That is when you can show your true artistry. And if you're able to do that in those moments, everything else is going to start to flow naturally. And that was a lesson I really needed to learn for myself because I lost touch with that. And when I reconnected with that, there was a several month period before I outputted anything where I was kind of just walking around in this really joyful, blissed out state because I had taken all of the expectations off of myself and I was finally free for the first time in what felt like forever. And you don't have to really pressure yourself to act. Once you hit that point, it'll just start to happen naturally because it's what's aligned and you're operating outside of a place of attachment to the outcome. You're just doing it because it is what the universe is telling you to do, And it's so when you clear out that noise, you just get the pure signal. And that's really what this entire journey is about. And it's much simpler than it is easy sometimes. Like it's simple, but it's not easy all of the time. And I also fully acknowledge that people have different obligations, responsibilities in life, and everyone's journey is different. But once you can reframe your journey through that lens, you become completely empowered and completely able to realize that it's not about what life is throwing at you, it's about how you respond to it. And if you become responsive instead of reactive, then one of my favorite teachers, Dr. Alberto Violdo, he talks about the difference between fate and destiny. And, he's a shamanic healer. And fate is your reactions, destiny is your responses. When you start to decondition your own programming and separate from that and see that it's not happening to you, it's happening through you and for you, beautiful
Mm-hmm.
things start to happen. And you start to take that aligned action from a place of intuition.
Oh my God, I love that. And it all starts with being able to quiet out the outside noise and tune in, and your music can help you do that. So we went
That's the
full
hope.
circle there.
That's the hope. Exactly. Exactly. But yeah, if there's
Beautiful.
anything I could communicate at this very moment, what I want to say is you are the artist of your own life, and never forget that.
Beautiful. Lincoln, I'm so grateful to know you. I'm so happy that we've crossed on this path.
I'm
So
grateful to know
ins-
you.
I'm so inspired by the work that you're doing, and I know because I've seen it and I've seen it again. I know that you're literally at the beginning of this journey and it's only going to go up from here. And I cannot wait for more and more people to discover you and for more and more people to get to experience the work that you're doing and to allow what you're putting out in the world to truly be a bridge and a gateway for people to start to embody some of this wisdom and these lessons. I mean, I resonate with every single word that you've shared, every single thing I've come across in my own journey. And the hope is, I say this almost every episode. I have a friend that has this beautiful quote that he says that we are the human permission slips. So by us showing up in our authenticity, by us being, we are inherently inspiring others to do the same. And, those who get to be on a stage and get to be a one to many have the opportunity to do that on scale. And so I'm grateful that it gets to be you in this moment right now. And it's the more I talk to you, the more I hear what your message is and what you're sharing, the more excited I am about that. So thank you so much for saying yes, for coming onto my little podcast that could. I'd love to give you the opportunity. I'm going to share your socials and your website if you want. If there's anything upcoming or anything you want to plug or pitch or share, I would love to give you the space for that before we close out.
Sure. Well, thank you again for having me. It's always beautiful to connect and been awesome being at these incredible shows and experiences with you this summer. And I love being able to wrap it into this. And yeah, honored to be on the journey with you. And for anyone that wants to connect further, I have a membership platform. There's free and paid options. It's called Grouped, Healing House Grouped. And you can find that at app.grouped.com/healinghouse, or healinghouse.app. And it's a place where we do live stream hangouts, meditations, and there's a lot of behind the scenes content. And if you're interested in going a little deeper into the science of sound healing, frequency, some esoteric conversations, that kind of thing, that's the place for it. So would love to see you there. Other than that, just finished up the summer tour, which was beautiful, but there's going to be lots more shows coming soon. And hope you'll follow me at Lincoln Jesser on social media to tap in. And I love you and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Lincoln. Thank you, guys. Don't forget to like, rate, subscribe. And again, Lincoln and I are both real people. Feel free to reach out. Let us know if you listened, if anything on this resonated with you, and if you want to dive deeper. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Namaste.